What's today? The third? 2, 3. 1, 6. Alright. How do you start this? The first thing you have to do. Yeah. How are we going to graph this guy? What do we have to do? We gotta do one thing before we do that. We want to make this y by itself, right? We want to isolate y. So we gotta subtract the x over. Right? That guy goes away. 2y is less than. We have a negative x and a negative 12. And then what? Divide each piece, yep, by 2, which will knock that guy out. So we've got y is less than negative 1/2, if that makes your life a little easier, minus 6. How do I graph that? If it was just a line, how would I graph it? Point at negative 6, which negative 6? This guy or this guy? Y, to the y-intercept. And what do I do from there? Rise over run, good. So if I have negative 1 over 2, if it's a negative slope, which way is your graph going to go? You already know it should be going down. You've got to keep that in mind. The biggest thing people were doing with the practice was flipping their slope. Okay? So if I decide to go down 1, if I want a negative slope, I'm going to have to go 2 in this direction. And you can keep doing that so you get a bunch of points. Okay? Or if I go up 1 to make it a downward slope, I'm going to have to go to the left. Does that make sense? Yep. That's why I don't base my left or right on whether it's negative or positive by counting. I base it on what should my line look like. Should it be going up or down? That eliminates that entire problem and having to memorize something. Okay? And do I need to make this a solid line or can I keep it dotted? We can keep it dotted. Why? Yes, exactly. It's just a less than, not a less than or equal to. There's no line underneath it. Okay? So, am I going to shade up or down becomes the next big thing. So if I'm saying my y values, I'm just looking at my y-axis. If you focus on your y-axis, which values are going to be less than this point? These ones, right? These are less than this point, so I'm going to be shading this way. Does that make sense? The absolute easiest thing to do is to then grab a completely different color. Let's find a more fun color. What color should we do?
Green, purple, red.
I'm just going to get a darker green because that one's hard to see. Okay? So then if we take this guy, and we get x minus 8y is less than 8. All right, what's the first thing I need to do? Knock the x over, yep. What does that give me? Plus 8, because it's a positive 8. Then what do I need to do? Divide by negative 8. Ding, 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 ding. What does that mean? What happens? The sign has to flip because you are dividing by a negative. Okay? Got to do it. Negatives alter which way you're moving on a number line. That's all negatives are. It's changing which way you're moving on a number line. So instead of less than, this is going to be greater than. What does this turn into? A positive, right? So you got a negative divided by a negative, so you get a positive 1/8 x. And then what's this guy? Minus 1. All right, how do I graph this guy? Start at negative 1. What kind of slope am I looking at? Positive or negative? Positive. So you already know your graph should go up. So if I decide to go up 1 point, to make my graph go up, am I going to go to the left or the right? If I'm starting by going up 1.
Right.
I need to go to the right. That'll cause my line to increase. Okay? If I decide to go down one, then I gotta go this way. Right? Is this a solid line or a dotted line? It is a dotted line. 3 points isn't really enough, so go ahead and put a couple dashes in there. I always have straight edges in the back. And then, which way am I shading? I want my y values to be bigger than my line. So if my y values are bigger above it, so I'm going to shade up. Ooh, come on. So where do they intersect? Yeah, so just, we'll grab purple. And you want to make this obvious. Grab a highlighter, circle that section, and be like, Miss Holly, it's this one. Okay? You want to make it super, super obvious that you know that that part is the solution. Down here is not part of the solution. Up here is not part of the solution. That section, which continues, is the solution. Okay? Yes. You can circle that section. You can darken it in. You can pick another color, a highlighter. You can write here. You can put a giant smiley face or a star in it. But you want to make it clear. Does that make sense? Not too bad? Okay. You feeling better about those? Okay. How about this stuff? So it says, give the inequalities, maximize the constraints with c equals 5x minus 2y, assuming that x is greater than or equal to negative 1. So that is already one of your inequalities. What does this line look like? What does this mean? The solid line, where is it? It's going to go up and down. It's going to cross the x-axis at negative 1. That's what this means. I'm going to cross the x-axis at negative 1. So there is a line here. Okay? So we've got 3 coordinates. What are the other 2 lines that we're looking at? So what is going to be the equation of this guy right here? Yep. That's where they intersect, because this is also a vertical line. So that guy that's highlighted in orange, how do we figure out the equation of it, or the inequality in this case? It's not an equation. You can think of it like an equation of a line. Y equals mx plus b, what do we got to do? What's the easiest to identify right away? Tell me something that you know about this line. Anything, even if you think it's silly. What do you know about this line? You have to tell me about it. It's a solid line, so we know that this is going to have a line underneath it, right? Beautiful. What else do you know? We're going to piece it all together. They intersect. If I want the equation of this guy, what do you know about? If you had to describe this line to somebody so they could draw it, what would you tell them? What's the slope of this guy? We need the slope. How do you find the slope? Yeah, you got to find 2 nice points, right? That's always a nice point usually for these. And this is a nice point. So what's the slope look like? Is it just 4 over 5? It has to be a negative 4 over 5. It does not matter if you put the negative on the top, the bottom, or in front. They're all the same thing. All right, what else do you need to know about this line? It's shaded underneath, which means which symbol's going to go here? Less than. You need one more piece and you're done with that line. Plus what? okay? Intercept at 7. You see how you piece it all together? Okay? We did the slope. So from one point to another, it's up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. You just gotta find 2 nice coordinates to deal with. Okay? Alright. How about this line? We know that y is going to be greater than or equal to, because it's shaded above that line, right? Okay. What else do you know? You can tell me the y-intercept first. You don't have to tell me the slope first. You know, I always write the y-intercept first because you can just grab it, right? It's plus 2. We know this guy's going to have an x. You got one thing to fill in. Is the slope going to be positive or negative? It's going to be positive. Put a little plus sign if you want to. That way you know you've taken care of the slope, right? And again, you got a nice coordinate here and a nice coordinate here. So what is your slope? 1 over 5. Right? Yeah. 1 and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's your inequality. Cool? That's the inequalities, and then you gotta deal with the maximizing shenanigans. So you gotta plug them in. You gotta find the coordinates. How many coordinates are you gonna have? 3 of them. Okay? Give me one of the coordinates. Yeah, 3 and 5 or 5 and 3? I will tell you right now, slope and coordinates messes everybody up. If you think you're the only one, you're not. It's everyone. So all you have to do to remind yourself is write that. If you give yourself that little note, this is xy. The slope is flipped of it, right? That's going to be your little check. So what's the x value for this coordinate? It's 5, and then it's up 3. Okay? What about those other coordinates? Are they nice? We know that x is negative 1 for both of them, right? But we're not sure if y is a nice number. How can we figure out what it is? That's kind of like in the middle, though, right? That's not. If you look at the slope of 4 over 5, that's not going to be a nice coordinate. So how can you figure out what that point is? What is the coordinate? Is the inequality, like, how do these guys work together? I want to know what the y value is when x is negative 1. So what do I have to do? If I gave you this, and I said I want to know what y is when x is negative 1, what would you tell me? You plug it in. That's exactly what we're doing, is we're substituting it in. So you're going to substitute a negative 1 in here and see what you get.
You also did the other one, too?
Yeah. Right? So negative 4/5 times a negative 1 plus a 7. It's going to be a positive 4/5. 0.8. What makes you happy? 0.8. What's 0.8 plus 7? 7.8. I don't care if you give me decimals. It's fine. So so that's this coordinate right here. So how do I figure out this guy? Same thing. You just plug it into this guy then, right? So yeah, you're going to have 1/5 times a negative 1 plus 2, which gives you a negative 1/5, 1/5.2. So a negative 0.2. So what are you going to have? 1.8. Very good. It was negative, right? You're taking it out of there. What do I do with these coordinates? Yes! Perfect. We plug it into the C. Okay? And I know this seems a little abstract, but linear inequalities, you have to do like all of these things together. so it was kind of easier to teach you the verse. You had a little briefing to it. So this is going to be C equals what? 5 times 5 minus minus 2 times 3. Same deal. 5 times my x value minus 2 times my y value. And then it's throw it in your calculator.
21.
This guy's 21? Can I just trust you? Are you sure? 25 minus 6? We go with 19?
Oh,
You want to use a calculator for decimals, I'm not going to blame you. Okay. I don't know that off the top of my head. Somebody check on the calculator, tell me what you did. I don't. Yeah. Negative 20.6. Okay? If you want to go into business or marketing or anything like this, this is legitimate stuff that you use. When they say maximize, usually they're talking about maximizing profit or minimizing cost. It's just like as real world as stuff gets. My dad has legit stuff like this that he does. Alright, what's the last guy? Negative 8.6. Alright, so is it asking us to maximize or minimize? Maximize. So which one of these will give them the maximum output? This guy, right? Why is it this guy, not this guy?
Oh, negative.
Right? So whatever X and Y stand for this situation, like if you're selling, you know, popsicles and bananas or something weird, right? You want to sell 5 of these and 3 of these. I don't know, I figured a weird area was like sounds good. Or for you guys, as you prefer chocolate fudge versus cookies and cream fudge, right? So you want 5 chocolate fudge, 3 cookies and cream fudge to maximize enjoyment of deliciousness. Yeah. Okay? Yeah? I got one more thing up here, and it's the back of your notes. So that we can check that out. We can put it all together, walk through an entire problem, and then we got some different practice stuff for you guys, okay? Okay? A small company produces Afghans and sweaters, and they sell them through a chain of specialty stores. The company is to supply the stores with a total of no more than 100 sweaters per day, Afghan sweaters per day. The store guarantees that they will sell at least 10 and no more than 60 Afghans per day, and at least 20 will sell. That's really hot. We're going to read that more than once. Sell at least 10 and no more than 60 Afghans per day, and at least 20 sweaters per day. So that's where all our inequalities, those are like all of our constraints, right? The company makes a profit of $10 on Afghans and a profit of $12 on each sweater. All right, what are the 2 things we're comparing? That's always your first question. What are the 2 things that are going to compare here? Afghans and sweaters, right? So we've got Afghans, we've got sweaters, and we've got whatever the different total numbers are, right? So you should go line by line. The company is to supply stores with a total of no more than 100 Afghan and sweaters per day. That 100 is a what? Does it go with Afghans? Does it go with sweaters? Does it go with total? It is a total. And it's no more than 100. So is 100 the highest or the lowest number they can have? This is the biggest that it can get. Right? They're not allowed to have more than that. Afghan and sweaters. Okay? The store guarantees guarantees. Guarantees, that's a big word. Store guarantees they will sell at least 10 and no more than 60 Afghans per day. What does that mean? It's going to be between that, right? So, does that have anything to do with the sweaters? The sweaters are not involved in that situation. So sweaters have nothing to do with this, right? So your Afghans have to be what? They have to be what to 10, and they have to be what to 60? They've got to be more than 10, which means what symbol is going to go here? More than 10, right? This side has to be bigger than 10. 10 has to be the smallest thing, and 60 has to be less than, right? They have to be less than 60. Those are going to be your vertical and horizontal lines. When you're only dealing with one thing, those are your vertical and horizontal lines. Yes, it's totally possible. At least 20 sweaters per day. So 20, not Afghans, just sweaters. An Afghan is a blanket? It's a knitted blanket?
Oh.
Is that's what threw you guys off? This is not a political problem. I know the word looks similar. It is not a political problem. It's not a person. It's not somebody from Afghanistan. It is an Afghan. It's probably something your grandmother knitted that you sit on the back of your couch, right? Those things that like sit on the back of your couch. They're blankets. Blankets. I'm going to put a bee there instead for blankets. Okay? So if I want at least 20 sweaters, is 20 the smallest or the biggest number? So I want the smaller part of the symbol to go towards the 20. Does that make sense? So far so good? Okay? And then once you see this word profit, that's that other equation. That's the C equals or the P equals, right? So they make a profit of $10 on Afghans. That's really funny. That's going to make me laugh forever. So $10 on Afghans, $12 on sweaters. And there's no total with that, right? There's no total that goes with that. So that's the equals your profit. Well, there will be. Yeah, you shut that door. Okay. Now you just throw in X and Y. Yep. So these guys all get X, Y, X, X, Y, X, Y. There's all your equations. That kid makes me laugh. I don't even know who that is. Who is that? Every time I see him, I just like laughing. Who is that? That's it.
Who was that?
Whoa! Never knew that. Never had that connection. I did have to. Okay. Awkward. Anyway. I literally laugh at him every time I see him call. He was laughing at somebody. Alright, so can we graph these? 10, I believe. Let's start with these guys. Our X values are going to be between, so we're going to cross the X-axis at 10. Okay? We're going to cross the X-axis at 60. right? And we're basically saying it's got to be in between that, right? It's in between those values, yeah? So your shading is just between these guys. Ooh, that's exciting. So what does this guy mean? If you're crossing the x-axis here, what are you doing to this guy? You're crossing the y-axis at 20. You're crossing the y-axis at 20. So we're going to cross the y-axis at 20. Are we going above or below?
Going above.
We're going above, so we care about this section up here. Okay?
And we're still in that small thing.
Okay? So yeah, we really only care about what's in here right now, right? Okay? That's okay. Don't judge the graph. It didn't do anything to you. Rude. Alright, how about this guy? How about this guy? How about that x plus y is less than or equal to 100? What do I do with this one? Yeah. What do we do with that guy? How do we deal with that? What did we do to the first problem? Yeah, we can subtract the x over, right? Y is less than or equal to negative x plus 100. Ooh. Okay. How, pray tell, would you grasp such a thing? Start with 100, which 100? This 100 or this 100? This is a y-intercept, right? It's a y-intercept. Then what do? Down one over one. I know my slope should be going down, right? Down one over one, down one over one, down one over one, down one, oh, la 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 la, all the way. What's it going to cross with the x-axis? It's also going to cross 100. If you know that, you can just put a point there. Like that.
Why are you asking
Doesn't matter. You could have flip-flopped it, and it would have just taken your graph and flipped it like an inverse. Yep. Great question. Am I shading above or below? Below. So there's a lot going on here with shading. This is getting a little intense. So let's do this. Does it create a section in between it all? Yeah. Let's do purple. So this turns into those maximizing problems. You created the inequalities, you graphed the inequalities, and now you can maximize. Totally acceptable. Why do you think I got a bouquet of color pencils for you? Bouquet. Yeah? These are what we probably like to call perseverance problems. You have two more things to do, believe it or not. If I want to maximize this, what do I have to do? You got to get the coordinates. You got to be able to tell me what are the coordinates here, 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 and here that surround. Those are the extremes. Okay? So which coordinates are easy to tell me? You should be able to tell me this coordinate right away. That's a vertical and horizontal line. So what's this guy? What's that coordinate going to be? It's over 10 and up 20. Beautiful. How about this guy? 60, 20. Beautiful. Do you know any pieces to the other coordinates at least? What do you definitely know about this coordinate? The x is what? The x is 60, right? And in this guy, you know, the x is 10. Now, if you did your graph, like, really precisely, like, so nice, and use a straight edge, you might be able to really just tell me what those other numbers are. Because this problem is nice. It has a beautiful slope. If you're not sure, though, well, let's look at this equation. We know that whatever x plus y is, it's got to be 100. So if x is 60, what's y have to be to get 100? Does that kind of look like it should be around, well, my graph is bad, but it should be around like 40-ish, right? Yours probably looks better than mine. And if this guy's 10, what's this guy got to be? 90, right? Doesn't that look pretty, that's pretty good, right? Right? Pretty good. Do you know what to do from here? What are we going to plug it into? Which equation? The 10x plus 12y1, yep. That's that profit. How do I maximize my profits? How do I get the most money possible? I want all the money. Okay, how many Afghans should I sell? How many sweaters should we make every day to get that maximum profit? I know, it's going to be funny forever. You guys make me so good. How many Afghans should I swear to you it's a blanket. I swear to you it's a blanket. So we got 10 times something plus 12 times something. You can set it all up and then substitute them in. I'm very about prepping work and then just substituting things in. I think it's just an efficiency thing. That's how I like to be efficient. And then chuck them in the calculator, or if you can figure them out by hand, figure them out by hand. 100 plus like 400. 300, 400. Go ahead, plug them in. Tell me what you get for these guys. 340. What's this? 60 plus 600 plus 2400. Right, because if you got 2 zeros, you got to throw 2 zeros on the end of it. So what's 600 plus 2400? 840, okay. All right. 60 plus 48. I'm going to throw a 0 on the end of it. 1080. Ooh, that's really big. Okay. And then 100 plus something. 1180. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. So what does this mean? We gotta tie it all back in. This guy right here, that's the magic. This is how we're gonna get the most moolah so we can, afford our Corvette. Orange. That like burnt orange color. I'm about that light. So what does that mean? What does that mean that this company should do? Yeah, they should sell. Is it selling or making? So they should make 10 Afghans a day, 90 sweaters a day. That will maximize their profit. Okay. Like, yeah. Good? I know, it's a process,